Good afternoon, everyone. Kalla here. Welcome to my live stream. Glad you could make it today. So today I'll be continuing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We finished the second case last week, so I'm going to be starting the third. So let's get right into it. The Adventure of the Runaway Room. Not sure how rooms run away, but I guess we're going to find out. Oh, if it's a carriage, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's a carriage. Episode 3, The Adventure.
Glancing over my records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter.
Hello, Yuri.
A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night.
The carriage murder.
Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
Ooh. Also, I hope that we're not accused of murder this time. Because so far it's been 2 out of 2 defending myself.
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
It looks like a railway station to me.
I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
This is London, Victoria? I think? Oh no, it's Piccadilly, apparently. No, Piccadilly is Manchester. Yeah, I think it looked like London, Victoria. I'm not sure. It could have been one of the others.
I feel like I'm
Looked like
dreaming.
Victoria,
So
though.
this is the capital of Great Britain.
And now I'm being thrown off because I'm like, was there a London, Victoria?
Hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
You can tell how not often
In
I'm
that
in
case,
London.
the Supreme Court in Whitehall.
I mean, I'm definitely not in London 100
My
years
pleasure.
ago, but...
I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so. Well then, I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital,
It's
London.
St. Paul's Cathedral, and... I've just realised that voice acting wise I'm gonna have to do London accents. And I don't know if I can do that. But we'll see. 18th of February, 9:21 AM. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. What an incredible place. It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. This place is breathtaking. It looks like a fortress. There are some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course. But they've only been built in the few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this has quite a different impact, wouldn't you agree? A far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are constructed from. It's certainly unfamiliar. So why is this built into a clock? And is this clock what the clock I think it is? But I think there's more to the differences than just construction materials. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. The Lord Chief Justice? We had instructions to report here at this time. If circumstances were different, we were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead, we're here in a different capacity. As envoys to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yes. And having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So we'd have to return to Japan. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. So I just had to check. Yeah, London Victoria was the station I was thinking of. Anyway. Yes, which means you need the requisite qualifications as a lawyer. Which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason we're here, to have you officially recognised as a lawyer. It's the only way that we'll be able to remain here in London. I hope I'm up to scratch. Okay, this is probably going to be the Lord Chief Justice. What kind of a voice do I think he has? I haven't even seen him. Good morning. Sorry for keeping you. I think I was close enough. Oh. I trust you aren't too exhausted after your long voyage from Japan. It seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Yeah, you better apologise. That's a long time to keep someone waiting. Oh, no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much with I can't say that with a straight face. Let's try that one again. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do. How fortunate. So, introductions. I am Mael Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. Is that Mael? 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 Mael. We're gonna go with Mael. Mael Strongheart. I feel just like a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo, don't be a mouse. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. Yes, thank you. Ooh. I don't have my pin to present anymore, but I'm gonna present my armband though. It identifies the wearer as a defense lawyer throughout the Empire of Japan. Hi, I have this. Lord Strongheart, may I show you this? To accept this item, issue a receipt, examine it thoroughly, and make a formal statement of my findings would require something in the region of 24 seconds of my time. Sorry? Does the item warrant 24 seconds of my time, Mr. Naruhodo? Let's leave it for now. Wow, for a guy who's obsessed with time and his time, why was he more than an hour late? You live in a clock, sir! Well, probably not live, probably more like work. Alright, Converse. London. So, what are your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, well, help! I've been so nervous ever since I got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh? We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say I'm almost lost for words. I'm glad to hear you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearhead every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded. Oh yes, astounded is the word. Thanks for saving me there, Suzato-san. And everyone seems so jolly and full of vigour. Yes. There's much excitement about the upcoming Great Exhibition we'll be hosting here in London. Ooh, the Great Exhibition. Great Exhibition? Cultural and technological achievements from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and will make Paris's World's Fair look like a toy shop. What year was the Great Exhibition? Well, that is the Crystal Palace, though. I think 1851. Okay, we have an idea of the year now. Sweet. I don't remember if I read Suzato's line just then. I might not have read Suzato's line just then. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the centre of the modern world. Even if you do say so yourself. The sun will never set on our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. Little student. Lord Chief Justice. I think you were expecting a student of law for this study tour, weren't you? Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asogi, if my memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on the situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. That's amazing! The news reached him before we even arrived. My country naturally extends the deepest condolences to yours. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. Oh, thank you. And you honoured this appointment specifically to inform me of the news? Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person. They tell me you Japanese are a people of protocol and courtesy, and I see that it's true. and it is with some regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means the study tour arrangement can no longer proceed. If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. What do you have to say, madame? It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal. Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo? This is it then. The moment of truth. Continuing the study tour. The thing is, Lord Justice, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me. Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead, but without a lawyer from your country, there's nothing to be done. Well, in that case, what if there was someone else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean. Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country, and that was Mr. Asogi. At least, that is what I've been led to understand. Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all. I just can't seem to find the right words to say to this man. Mr. Naruhodo! Could have ruined things here if I'm not careful. What am I going to say? If there is someone else here from Japan who could be described as a lawyer, it's... Actually, there's no one. It's Miss Susato or it's me. Well, clearly the correct answer is it's me. It's me. I can do it. Is that so? I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but... No qualifications, you say? And yet you still claim to be a lawyer. I have acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. And I had Kazuma to help me, and I was the accused, but glossing over the details. I've been spending every spare moment of the journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learnt all about British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Buria. The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe. Not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Britain, not only do you need a university Let's try that again. The voice was throwing me off. Not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training. I realise it's far too short a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Kazuma, Mr. Asogi's journey has only just begun. Coming here on the study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion. Wow, words. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I would do anything to prove I have what it takes. Any test you care to set me. Just one chance, that's all I'm asking for. Please. 31 seconds. Sorry? Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo. It was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that would stand you in great stead as a lawyer. Oh, thanks. So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment. Huh? Well, let me ask you one thing first, sir. Yes? You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asogi planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes, that's my intention. I see. Am I imagining things? Or did his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden? Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you. Really? Test. So, what form will the test take exactly? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be? Well, defending my client? Well, defending people, of course. Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. That's... as a test? Huh? Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defence as yet, so this will be welcome news. Today? Straight away? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? Well, that depends. Are you giving me someone who definitely killed a guy? Or is there any ambiguity at all? I mean, based on the initial cinematic, it's not really ambiguous, is it? How do I get myself into these situations? Well, could I ask what sort of trial it is, Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. I remember. It's a murder trial. Because of course it is. A murder? An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose. It's easy to say. But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will of course be sentenced to capital punishment. Oh no. Oh no. Capital punishment? He'll be put to death? Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably you read that much in your short sea-based introduction to British law. We can't possibly agree to such a test. We would be toying with a man's life. I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable. Wow. Asshole much? But you can't do that, can you? There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose. So the defendant may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged. Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say that you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen. He's testing my resolve. What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but time is pressing. The trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be? What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test? Well, obviously, because if I don't, then the story's kind of over. I'll do it. Alright then, if I have to give you a decision now, my answer is... I can't do it, I can't get the words out. 15 seconds. Your decision making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So it's as I suspected, is it? Sorry? You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. Wait, did I not pick Al- I picked I'll do it, right? Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to the east tomorrow. This conversation is over. Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry, Mr. Zato, but what could I do? It's alright. I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. But resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say, madame? I think what Miss Susato means is, no matter how badly I'd like to be recognised as a lawyer and stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chances at trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable. And I feel exactly the same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each one of those clients, the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice. Wait, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, was there something else? It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time. But I just said that I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him. What? At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. The trial will begin without a defence. And if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He will receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down. But that's awful! But that is the truth. Why does it have to be like this? Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold, hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. Really his only hope? So, what do you say now, madame? Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances, and I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. Oh. Our time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves. He's gone. The Old Bailey. If we're going to do this, Mr. Naruhodo, we must leave at once. I want to look. I want to have a look. Mr. Zato, can I just ask you something? Careful, from this position I can perform a Suzato takedown in an instant. I know. Mr. Naruhodo, you heard Lord Strongheart. The trial starts imminently. If I need to throw you, I will. You know, you could just say, I think we should hurry to the courtroom. If you need to ask me anything, it's better wait until we're at the Old Bailey. Okay, I'm not allowed to have a look around. Let's go. Let's go to the Old Bailey. Ooh. London's highest criminal court with an illustrious past. February 18th, 9:45 AM. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, thank goodness we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were going to rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. It's one of my favourite lines from the Sherlock Holmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand that. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. Yeah, why is he not in here? So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants to wait in is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember... Nope. Words? This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man is... No. Whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at the moment. Okay, okay. Top of the morning to you, madam. Sir? Wow, that hat. What are you doing here, following me here? Things are fair desperate, ain't they? Sorry? Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the East, are yous? We're from Japan, yes. Ah, Japan is it? Right, say no more. So, how much does you need? No, we're just here because... Also, why did I try and go kind of Irish? Oh well. No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. There we go, that's better. That's slightly more Cockney, I think. Maybe. I'm not good at Cockney. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name, and all while in a strange faraway land. All while in a strange faraway land. I really don't think I've got his accent right, but we're gonna lean into it, I guess. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet. No. 'Tis grand, 'tis grand. Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? Please, Mr. Satter, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? It is nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I have enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over. Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. He's like, he threw it at me. That hit me in the eye. Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it to you no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, 'tis a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is I actually am your lawyer. Don't worry about the thing, all you have to do is stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. So it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendants of this trial? Bluster and blazes, do yous not know who I am? Me, one of London's biggest names. No, sorry. We've only just arrived in the city, you see. I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park there in the centre of London is another beautiful park. Sorry, park? What? It is called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers in the spring and singing birds and whatnot. I'm guessing McGilded Park is fictional, because it's not one I recognise, but then again, as I said, I don't get to London all that often. Hyde Park I recognise. I'm guessing this guy's name is probably McGilded. McGilded. I guess going Irish wasn't wrong, necessarily? No, Mc is more of Scottish, but I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where we're going with this guy's voice. I donated it to the city, so I did. An entire park? In central London? A city of smiles, that's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its... What word is that even? And its queer old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. But now they've the gal to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. Now I'm leaning into Scottish. Now I've got the kind of mind. This guy, my accent for this guy's all over the place, and I am so sorry. What's the matter with the London police, I ask you? Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo. Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study. We're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students on a study tour from Japan, you see. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'd do our best. What was I after saying, you daft idiot? I've given you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Sorry? I know what you're thinking. This Chancellor of a fellow claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it, that's the only explanation. Or maybe the finest lawyer in Britain couldn't put up with him. I'm not sure. Well, exactly, or not at all. Let's be polite. Not at all. Not at all. Although it is a little strange, to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean. That would be the fault of the Reaper. Sorry? Did he just say Reaper? Aye, the Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Barock van Zieks. He's the prosecutor. The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? When Van Zieks stands for the when Van Zieks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. I thought the Lord Justice said this would be easy. What? So it's reached the desperate situation where there's no one willing to stand in defence against the fellow at all. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey. Goodness. Lord Barock van Zieks. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madame. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way to the courtroom. The trial is about to begin. His counsel. That would be me. Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face here, I'd made up my mind, so I had. Sorry? I'd decided I'd have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? But then you made an appearance, a student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him. Actually, now I heard her saying you do know one more thing about him. He's filthy rich. Mr. Naruhodo. The man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Kazuma would never have allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. I'll be right there. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm gonna manage this. "18th of February, 10 AM, the Old Bailey courtroom. Okay, let's stop staring at the fire. You know, I'm not sure I'd want to be sat, like, kinda underneath those scales that are on fire, but hey, you know. So this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different from the Supreme Court in Japan. Yeah, this court has fire. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, what? He's nervous again. Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Why does the prosecutor look like a vampire? Okay, we need a British judge voice. Which kind of means I really want Queen's English, but I'm not good at that. I really feel like he should sound posh, you know? I'm not good at that. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defence to declare their willingness to proceed. Oh yeah, the designs are good. All of these character designs are good. Why does he look like a vampire? Should I try and voice him as if he was a vampire? I don't really know if I can do that though. No, it does. I really shouldn't try and voice him like a vampire. Van Zeeks. So what? He's not British. He's. That looks like the Netherlands, maybe? I don't know how to do that accent, so never mind. Okay, pick a voice. The prosecution is fully prepared. Is that too similar to the judge? The prosecution... no. The prosecution... no. The prosecution is fully prepared. That doesn't sound right either. The prosecution is fully prepared. Maybe? Yeah, I'll get something eventually. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld. Actually, he looks like he came from the underworld himself, but you know. It's just the way he's holding his cloak there, it's very vampire. Or like maybe Phantom of the Opera, sort of. Yeah, maybe I should be going with more of a Phantom of the Opera sort of thing. Counsel for the defense. You appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. He's got a fancy cravat and everything. Look at him. Those eyes please me. Nipponese. What? They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. That cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord? You stand accused of murder. A capital offence? You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defence to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the... Nope, I lost that in the middle. As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella is a student from some little island off in the Far East. Now, here's the thing. You say little island. When, like, Japan is so much bigger than Great Britain. Like I once saw an overlay of, like, just Tokyo on Great Britain, and it was like 50% of the landmass or something. So, you know, Japan isn't exactly a little island. Like, it's little compared to places that are entire continents, but it's not little compared to where we are right now. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to McGilded. What a fine gentleman London has in him. Did you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please may we go play in McGilded Park? It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news. And he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? Only 6? Only 6 jurors? Huh. I mean, I was gonna say, like, maybe it was back then, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's 12 these days. They really are a cross-section of the public. I like that granny on the right is clearly knitting. I don't like that the dude in the top hat in the middle is tossing a knife around. They are going to talk. Yes, my lord! If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we must dispose of rubbish properly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. Flask. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Hi, Kevin. Mr. Naruhodo, those people are... The jury, yes. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right, I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. It's also really interesting that they get to talk. Because... Hey, let's have a tangent on aspects of my life. I've done jury service before. Our job was like literally just to sit there and listen and then go into a back room and talk about it later. Like, I don't think we ever actually spoke in the courtroom. Also, there were 12 of us. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. Yep, that's accurate. The jurors decide whether or not you're guilty of things, and then the judge decides on the sentence. Yep. Wait, you got the letter twice but haven't gotten picked for it? How does that work? Or do you mean you got the letter, you went to the thing, and you didn't get picked for a case? Because that would make sense. I got picked for one. Gosh, that was 10 years ago. That was more than 10 years ago that I did it. Because it was during the London Olympics, which was a pain because I actually had tickets to one of the events, and I couldn't make it because I had to do jury service. Not that I'm bitter about this or anything, but I wanted to go see the judo, and I was like, please let this case end before that, please. I want to go see the judo. It didn't. I accidentally pressed the Gora. Oh, okay. So it must work a lot different where you are then. Here, basically, we get the letter, and basically you have if they ask you to come in, you have to. There's like a few, you can like say no once, but then if you say no once, you have to absolutely do it the second time that you get called. I don't remember exactly because, as I said, it was like 10 years ago. But I remember they basically brought a bunch of us into the courts, and then we're like, we will let you know if you. So this is like this is what you have to do, and we will let you know if you have a case. And even if you don't, I think for several days you had to sort of come in and sit around and just sort of wait and see. It was a lot of sitting around, which I guess means it was a good thing it was showing the Olympics, because it meant there was at least something interesting to watch on the TVs in the waiting room. Anyway. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes. Prosecutor Van Zieks. My lord? It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. Ah, yes, maybe he's rusty. Maybe he's rusty. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? Oh, love a flourishing bow! Love it, love it. Perfect. I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Yeah, I could really do with that, because I have literally no clue what this case is. Except for murder. Which, incidentally, is not the kind of case that I was jury for. I did not have a murder case. I won't tell you what the case was, because obviously I'm pretty sure I'm still legally obligated not to talk about it. But I will tell you it wasn't murder. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. Sorry, thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. Okay. Oh, he got stabbed! He got stabbed! Straight through the stomach. Ow! Ow, that must have hurt. And you know, unlike our first case, it's clear that this one's bleeding. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here is the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record. A report prepared by the Scotland Yard coroner. It gives the cause of death as internal hemorrhaging as a result from a single stab wound to the abdomen. Yep. A photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. A photograph of the victim taken on the omnibus. The knife in his abdomen is clearly visible, but his face is partly obscured from view by an old crooked hat. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. Those appear to be gloves with blood on them. And these are... Good lord! Is that blood, counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilded gloves had blood on them? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. The defendant's leather gloves have been entered into the court record. The gloves the defendant was wearing at the time of the incident, there is a bloodstain on the right glove. Are we going to have to prove that our defendant is left-handed or something? How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I've even started. Right. Anyway, let's look at those things in the court record. Look, we don't have a badge anymore. We got an armband. Let's look at my armband. Yeah, look, they got a name in them. They got a Sergey's name in them on the inside. The lawyer's name is embroidered on the inside here, look. Casimir Sergey. This was his band, of course. He had his heart set on the study tour in Great Britain. I'm sure he would have found the truth he longed for here. And he lost his life before he even had the chance to see the place. I have such a strong sense of his hopes and dreams when I look at this armband, though. Aww. These are the scales of justice. They're a symbol of the defense, aren't they? Yes, that's right. The scales are a symbol of fairness, to show that all are treated equally in the eyes of the law. Is that what they're for? Because my brain sees scales and goes more for more for the ancient Egyptian death stuff. Heart weighed against a feather sort of stuff. Like your sins weighed against the truth. And there are warnings to those who enter the courtroom without an impartial mind. But if they're the mark of the defence, it would be more auspicious if they were weighing more heavily on the not guilty side, I think. Very impartial, I'm sure. Okay. The Autopsy Report. Victim, thrice-fired mason, male. Age 54, occupation brickmaker. Time and cause of death, 15th of February, 10 PM to 11 PM. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife while journeying in an omnibus. Died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. Okay. That's a lot of words to just say you got stabbed. Crime scene photograph. That's certainly a fancy looking dagger. And some blood. And some pince-nez glasses. Gloves. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No, by the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. Oh yeah, so he was, wasn't he? Yeah. Pity. If only he'd been left-handed. Right. That's what I thought earlier. I was like, what if we prove he's left-handed? I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. I mean, is there blood on the other glove? No. Doesn't look like there's anything else to look at on there. Okay. People. We have Cesata, Male Stronghearts, Lord Chief Justice, Magnus McGilded, an incredibly wealthy philanthropist with a wonderful reputation in London. Baroque van Zeeks, the Reaper of the Bailey, and thrice-fired Mason. It's the victim. Skilled but poor. Wow, Zeke's is only 32. Man, this career must have weighed hard on him, because he definitely looks older than that. Like, this guy's 32, and this guy's 48. This guy's 52. This guy's 52, and that guy's 32. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers travelling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2? Obviously, one of these passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded? To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord, lilting so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, there was a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then after the man had been killed? Well, I don't know, he might not have been dead at that point. He was bleeding. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning. What? That's not all of it? There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Order! 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 When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. And the Chief Justice told me that this was going... I guess the Chief Justice only told me that this was a simple case, as in it's pretty simple that my guy did it. Is he trying to get rid of me? Is he trying to get rid of me by giving me this as a test and going, hey, you can be the lawyer in the study tour if you get a not guilty verdict on this one. Knowing full well that probably won't. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. Man, he's so cool! He's so cool! What even was that? Witnesses, your names and occupations. Right, I want to steal that outfit. Particularly the cloak. Or cape. They're so cool. Okay, I need a voice for an old guy who appears to be dying of hypothermia. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. No, that's not quite right. That's not quite right. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents. What is under your hat, sir? Or is it just falling off? Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Why does my controller not want to... Hello? There we go. Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir, that's right, sir. Very well then, let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Witness testimony. What the witnesses saw. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. Wow, your mustache is a W, sir. Just straight up a W. That's right, he stabbed him! I screamed, I did, I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. Unambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel? Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. I mean, I'm guessing it had... That really depends if it has doors or not, right? Like, it could be an open carriage. No, it wasn't an open carriage, was it? It was let's look at the picture again. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. There's like there's just small windows in the doors. How could they have clearly seen this happen, right? Like, that glass isn't even clear either. It looks like it's frosted. Like for privacy or something. I mean, that might just be how it's drawn, but all the dots. How quaint. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you ever travelled in an omnibus? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. Yes? The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. You got it inside? Guess the doors to the Old Bailey must be pretty big. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff? Bring forth the stricken omnibus. Excuse me. Yeah, they just brought it straight inside the... They just brought it straight inside the room. Alright. Alright. So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. I mean, I guess... Yeah, that door is big enough, I guess. Can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. I'm guessing they had some people push it / pull it in and didn't use a horse. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. As I can see? As I can see? Did you bring the horses in here too? 4 passengers are seated inside the enclosed cabin and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. You know, things haven't really much changed, have they, between the old omnibuses and buses? Particularly the sightseeing ones around London. They still have that top deck that's not enclosed, which is honestly not a great idea in London given how much it rains, but hey. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. Yeah, that's also how you get yourself soaked by the rain. And I should point out to our foreign guests. Oh! Oh, okay. Okay. I guess that the people on the top of the bus could see what was going on inside. There is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Well, from the seats at the back above, but not seats at the front. Ah, a skylight! Oh! Wait. So, given where the driver's seat was apparently... How could the driver see the inside? Because I don't think he had the ability to do that. The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats in the omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. That makes perfect sense. Well, Counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind this bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. Mr. Judge, your wig, it's falling off. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. The omnibus has been entered into the court record. The 8-seater omnibus that was the scene of the crime, there were passengers both inside the carriage and on the roof deck that night. I can't believe it! The entire crime scene entered as evidence? Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary! I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Yeah, sure, let's examine the omnibus. Okay, so the windows are a lot more see-through than I thought. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? The scene of a murder. It's horrible. Well, that certainly is a bloodstain. Let's have a look on the other side. Oh, that's the poster for the Great Exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. So this is what the Crystal Tower is. Right, so that makes sense now. In this alternate version of London, it's a Crystal Tower that looks suspiciously shaped like the Eiffel Tower, instead of being the Crystal Palace, as it is in reality. I wonder if the French World Fair in this reality had built the Eiffel Tower, or if they have something more like the Crystal Palace now. The Eiffel Palace or something. Oh, the Crystal Tower. It's under construction already, I believe. Yeah, I saw that when we were coming in. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. His seat looks reasonably soft, but it's actually rather hard when you sit on it. And only just wide enough for 2 gentlemen to sit side by side, really. Of course, an English gentlewoman would be dressed in such finery. It would be quite impossible for her to climb up to the roof deck, so she would have to be seated in here. A woman in a kimono would have the same problem. Clothes are very impractical, aren't they? Right. Well, actually, I mean, kimonos are kind of more practical than some of the clothes that we have these days. Kimonos at least have a built-in place to store your stuff. The entire sleeve is like one gigantic pocket. Can you tell I'm bitter about the lack of useful pockets on things? Because I'm bitter about the lack of useful pockets on things. Luckily, hoodies have a very nice pocket. Can I? That's gonna be this. That's gonna be the seat again, is it? I want to know what this handle is. Oh, no. Okay, we can. The seat has a handle, it seems. That's where you store your luggage. Maybe. Maybe not luggage. Okay. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. Would the driver really shoe his own horses as well? You wouldn't get a farrier for that? So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. You know, it's a pity that it's not a passenger storage, because that would be so the best place to store your luggage if you're going to sleep on the omnibus, right? Absolutely no one can steal your stuff if you're literally sat on it. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. Yeah, I guess. Turning around. Oh, I see, there isn't a handle on this side. Oh. This is the same text for the one on the other side. London, Crystal Tower, notice. And then words I can't read. Alright, let's look at the bloodstain. That's blood that's soaked into the seat. The victims, obviously. I mean, I don't think it would be that red anymore. It would be more of a brown colour, surely. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would he really stab someone in full view of the other passengers like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything out through the skylight. Yeah, you're implying that the culprit did not know that there were people on the roof. Well, this was lit up real well and real easy to see from up there. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. Okay. Alright, so there's only a door on one side. Let's leave again. Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside then. Big wheel, smaller wheel. Place that the horses are hitched. There seems to be missing a bit for the horses. Shouldn't there? It's missing the harness. Well, I guess that's not part of the omnibus itself. Job Masters. Baker Street, Old Street, and City of what? City of... I don't know. So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London's streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them? And they have to pay money to do so? I can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Oh, I can't get this into an angle where I can see the blood on the seat. Boo. Okay, that's just the same thing. Yeah, because I can in fact see the blood on the seat from up here. Phoenix rides omnibus. Well, you know, I wouldn't want to be climbing this metal ladder in the freezing cold. Phoenix rides omnibus. Like, seriously, if the driver is sat here, and you can tell he is because he's left quite an imprint there. There is absolutely no way for the driver to see the inside of the carriage. Just absolutely no way. Like, you can sort of see the top, maybe. But... Phoenix rides omnibus. Can I can't turn the omnibus upside down. I'm sorry. I'm sad. I'm sad. Very, very, very sad. Okay. Enough staring at the omnibus. Enough staring at the omnibus. Let us continue with proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court cross-examination rights. Deep breaths, deep breaths. Alright, my first cross-examination in a British court. Slaps off the face. Focus, Ryunosuke, focus. Cross-examination. Alright. Press all the statements. Time! Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh, yes, sir, that's right, sir, yes. Ever so cold it was, sir. Freezing, in fact. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time, is that correct? Yes, yes, that's right, sir. Not all travelling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though, no. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place? No one alighted, for example? You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that? No, none. Yeah, none of you seem to be surprised by that. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then? I have to say, the boss insists on it running, he does. Every evening, that last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, so sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much at the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. Well, that's your problem. You're trying to warm up by drinking.
Hold it!
And you saw them through the skylights on the roof of the carriage? That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp on inside, so I had a pretty good view. The two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. You know, so here's my issue with this. There's 2 seats on this bus. Why would you choose to sit next to someone on a bus? I don't know if this is just a British thing, but like, if I'm getting on a bus, I don't want to sit next to someone unless I have to. I want to sit on a set of seats by myself, ideally. And like, you see that with pretty much everyone here. Everyone sort of files onto a bus and goes into their own individual things. Sitting next to someone on the bus on purpose is like, what? What kind of a maniac are you? Particularly in London, they don't talk to each other in London. Maybe it was different. Maybe it was different 100 years ago. It's like, even in this case, if you wanted to, although actually, would it be better in this case to sort of sit next to someone so that you're not, like, locking eyes with them? But then again, if Mr. McGilded knows he falls asleep on the bus, does he really want to be sat next to someone when he does that? I don't know. How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? Miss McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. Oh, I had a thought. Just a second. So, I'm gonna go back inside the omnibus. Just a second. Because here's the thing. So, if the deceased was sat here, Mr. McGilded was sat here, no one else entered or left the carriage. However, what's under these seats? Perhaps a person could have been in the carriage already and stowed themselves away in here. Mr. McGilded is by his own evidence asleep. Maybe the other guy was also asleep. Someone could have just opened this up, come out, stabbed this guy with a knife, and gone back in again. But then again, the people up there are claiming that they saw him stab the guy, so maybe not. I don't know. But a theory. I have a theory, nonetheless. I really wish there was. Reaches over. Man, that's a really weird way to stab someone. Because, like... So he's sat over here, and he's right-handed. You'd sort of have to... You'd have to lean over real weird to stab that guy straight in the stomach. Like, it would be way easier to stab him if you were over here. And I mean, also, that's slightly angled down as well. Seems like a really... I don't know.
Hold it!
You actually saw the exact moment it happened? The last time we had someone who claimed they saw the exact moment it happened, it turned out they didn't. Didn't I already testify to that? Or are the fair dinkum hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? No. No, they're not, sir. Wouldn't trust a banker as far as I could throw him, sir. Especially not one with a mustache that looks like that. It's like, come on, you could have gone for a proper handlebar. but instead it appears to be attached to your sideburns. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail, if that's... My lord. Also, who let this guy into the courtroom with a knife? Who let this guy into the courtroom with a knife? For a stabbing case. Juror number 3, what's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich, never have. They're always up to something they're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be, every one of them. You don't exactly look poor, sir. It really is an oversized switchblade, isn't it? Why is that on fire? And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. What the heck? There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway. That is precisely what I was about to say. This guy looks like the Fat Controller, but with facial hair. As the foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. And deciding right now is not a good example at all. You're supposed to sit here and listen and make up your mind later. Why does fire have weight? What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes. It seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. Oh, that's interesting. So here we're having each individual juror make their own verdict. Whereas in real life and currently, the jurors go off to a room to deliberate among themselves and return one verdict. Which, incidentally, is... The judge really wants you to make it unanimous. But if you absolutely can't come to a unanimous decision, they want a majority. I know, because we had some difficulty with ours. We couldn't find a unanimous decision. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely on the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well, the court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defence, please continue with your cross-examination. This is a nightmare.
Hold it!
He stabbed him, you say, and you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little... Yeah, here's another thing. Why are these two sat on the same thing together as well? They're getting very chummy. These Londoners. Also, you say little gent, he doesn't look that little. Unless you're just saying that he has little legs. But like this image, he doesn't look that much shorter. Actually, no, I guess he is, because the highest you can see of that guy is his mustache, and you can see the top of that guy's head. But then again, McGilded is supposed to be sleeping, so his chin's gonna be on his chest, so yeah, I guess you would. But like the shoulders are like the same height, practically. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly, that huge great knife. That sounds like you didn't actually see the moment when it happened. That sounds like you just saw him with a knife in him. A grim sight indeed. That didn't help me at all. Man, this jury being allowed to talk in the courtroom. We weren't allowed to do that. We weren't even supposed to talk outside of it. We would have been so much faster coming to our decisions if we'd had the time to talk about it while it was happening. The jury look like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First. Oh, yes, sir? Is this the knife you saw? It really is a fancy knife, isn't it? Oh, good grief! Yes, that's it, the very one, sir. Is that... Yes, counsel, this is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. Now you're bringing in vampire stuff. That is a blade of considerable size, counsel. It is, and furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar. You're gonna just do this off a single letter? Please, no. M for Magnus, perhaps, or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake. M's.
Objection!
But there are M's everywhere. Yes, like in Mason.
Objection!
Okay, even his objection is fancy. This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel. The murder weapon has been entered into the court record. A large-ish knife that was found lodged in the victim's abdomen. Its quality and fancy ornamentation suggest it must be quite valuable. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. Juror number 2, go on. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman, and a gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know that we must accept hard truths. Oh, the thing behind them goes to the colour of their decision as well. That's ridiculously fancy. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. No! I don't wish to cause offence, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I've painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. Excuse me? Excuse me? Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who've proposed a guilty verdict. I mean, that's a majority. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything in the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But... alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. Okay.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Yeah, what did you see? Because I don't think there was a way that you could have seen this, Mr. Bus Driver. Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was. And I don't think he was. And by the passenger, obviously you're referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And the other passenger had that knife in his hand, like this. Well, we found someone to show evidence for. By the other passenger, obviously you're referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilbert. And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What? My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5, do I take it that you too... as the master of the London Guild of Coachmen... Excuse me? You're the master of the London Guild of Coachmen? Doesn't that mean that you have way too much of a connection to this case? I don't think you should be on the jury. What's the word? A conflict of interest? By the fact that you're that guy's boss? I don't think this guy is supposed to be on the jury. The idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse is bolted, as they say. No, please just keep an open mind a little longer. Yeah, now Silver Blaze, the finish is in sight. Help me, Grandma, you're my only hope. Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. He's lying out of his... Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. Oh, this is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agreed to condemn this man. Yeah, help me, Grandma, you're my only hope. Madame Juror number 6. Yes, dear. What can I do for you? You've heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Oh yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then pray tell why you yet to pronounce your leaning. Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. So she's going to sit on that bench and get on with her knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to McGilded Public Library later and borrow some books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know what kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of a man is he? The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir. And one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stone the Crows! McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madame. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? Good question. It's a good question. What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that the victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that on the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious. The brickmaker was destitute, he had lost his house, he had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. Why is he taking a public bus then? Surely he doesn't have the money to do that. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him, his life. I think he had some things before that, like his clothes. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly. Mrs. Atto? You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded. But where is the evidence to support your claim? Yes! This is a court of law, we require evidence! Not mere conjecture. Where did you get that wine? Oh, you're gonna do the fancy wine glass holding as well. You're such a fancy man. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice. Hallowed chalice? In a court of law. Aha! There it is! Lord Van Zeek's hallowed chalice. How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in an unexpectedly good humour. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. Ah! As judicial service to the service? As judicial assistant to the defense, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the Debtors Ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. Yes, please do. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. Wow. A marvellous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. The Debtors Ledger has been entered into the court record. A catalogue of people who had borrowed money from the defendants at a high rate of interest. This includes the victim, who owed 20 guineas. How much was a guinea? I'm going to find out. The guinea was coin minted in Great Britain between 1663 and 1814. That works with the fact that wait. I thought we were like 1852 or 18 what? It contains approximately 1/4 of an ounce of gold. It was replaced by the pound. Guinea was long used as a unit of account worth 21 shillings. Okay. It's £1 and 5p. Apparently. Although adjusted for inflation, it's going to be a lot more than that. So I guess it was a considerable amount then. Ah yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Okay, anyway, let's look at that debtors ledger then. Do-do-do. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside? Yes I do. Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholmes's name inside. Well, let's see what we find. Dee-dee. Oh, it's illegible. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness. What is it? Look at this. Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually. Yes, it's one of the people on the witness stand right now. Now I heard her sound. Pay attention. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment. Oh, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Why is a banker borrowing money at extortionate rates from an individual and, like, not from his bank? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It feels like my witness has a reason he might want this trial to end up a particular way. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. The details of the debtor's ledger have been updated in the court record. Among the defendant's list of debtors is Bruce Fairplay, who would have been due to repay his loan imminently. Suspicious. Suspicious. Is it going to bring me up anything else if I go for the other page? Nope. Alright. Second. That's me. I'm gonna drink here somewhere. Right. Well, it would seem I've the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madame, that is the modus operandi of the accused. And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel. Still, maybe it's all for the best. Oh, wait a minute. Let's think about this a little more before... I don't stand for nonsense. What? Just when I finally found somewhere to get him, something to get him on. That was it, the last juror's decision. According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict? It's over then. Oh. There's a footnote though. A footnote? However, the defense... The defense what? All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement on this case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there is no objections. Yes, I object! Mr. Zato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law? However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Okay. A summation examination? Does that mean I can go, excuse me, he's too connected to the case. I don't think he should be a juror.
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Ah. Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It is a relic, long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Mr. Zato? this so-called summation examination. Oh, one moment, and I'll read about it. See, that's what I was saying about, like, Kimono Sleeves' pockets, because she's got that book in there. I'm guessing more than one book. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails? Well, yes, because it's my only option. Typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions? Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to the try in this day and age. Well, it's a good thing I have no self-respect. Sorry. Joke. that was low-hanging fruit on a joke there. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that, although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? A summation examination, a last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat? Of course we assert our right, because otherwise we run out of story, right? The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried. Wait, so you mean you don't want me to have the opportunity to convince the members of the jury to vote a certain way? Unlike you, who just brought out the exact things to make that little old lady mad. You directly influenced her.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. It's madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Yeah? Well, I'm not, There was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so... All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believed the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us all on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. They don't really hold with all this justifying work. It rather feels like juror number 4 should be a court reporter. That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the Summation Examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for, to turn this trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. So it's 5 pence a passenger? He stuck the chap next to him just like this! Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. You seem to be well versed in the art of stabbing, sir. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair's fair's our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for yet. Aha! Aha! 4 pence, huh? That would imply there was a 5th passenger then. This scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It beggars belief he wasn't on the floor. And also Grandma got a bit stabby as well, huh? I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to fill their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. No, it's probably going to be about evidence. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see, so it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask that you take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Jury examination. The defense's rebuttal. Let's press all the things! Certainly, the testimonies we've heard suggest the victim and Mr. McGilded were alone inside the carriage. Precisely my point. But, could there have been some other explanations, something we haven't considered yet? Such as... well, perhaps that's something we could, all work out together now? Now listen here. Maybe you don't know how things work around here because you're from foreign climes. But we're here to form our opinions as individuals, and I have. Ugh. Oh dear, he doesn't appear to be in the mood to consider an alternative point of view, does he? No, I'm going to have to pit the jurors against one another. Exosato-san said. Finding contradictions in the six people's assertions is the only way I'm going to succeed. Oh right, so Pitter's... Right, okay. I'm actually going to do this now instead of going and pressing everyone, because, I wanna... This one. That one. This one! 4 passengers, fares totaling 20 pence. But, the prices haven't been over 4 pence. So we're gonna pit.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Well, yes, Mr. Judge. I can do basic maths, you see. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silverblaze's maiden name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus in the night in question. I like that we're doing a little walk up and down, just a pace back and forth. It's kind of cool. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right, I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. 4 pence. I should have pronounced that 4 pence. That it is a fair and convenient single price, just the way London's carriages should be operated. But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man, why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication... it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes, in other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Good gracious! This can't be right. The coachman of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news would surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride on his omnibus. Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, huh? Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of a set of scales. Just hold your horses there, coachman! We were all in agreement. Why did you have to go and... Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. This is all very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same. Sweet. For the love of Mike, not you as well. A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh, really? I, for one, think it is only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more? Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Then that's where you must strike next. I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show that there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly! You can do it! Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. I'm changing my leaning to innocent. I should like to hear what the slipshod bookmaker has to say for himself. He stuck the chap next to him like, yeah, okay. It's gonna be pit this guy. Again, stabbing the poor man on the floor. Pit.
Objection!
Those 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain, counsel, post-haste. Oh, dearie me. I was only knitting a jump of my other half. What is all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you? Why is your knife stuck in the bench, sir? We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3. What? Can't you see I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? How? Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even giving up. Just like the prim banker said. You'd end up stabbing them in the side if you did that, though. Not in the front. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6. Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madame? Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so. Yeah, incidentally, good demonstration, Grandma, of how knitting needles can be used as a stabbing implement. Now, don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed that poor man after he collapsed on the floor. Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches. What a muddle. What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh! Well, I mean, it's the cab driver, because he had absolutely no way of seeing inside the carriage from where... Sorry, not cab, bus driver. Bus driver. But why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies. The scales of justice. The scales. I don't believe it. Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? Answer me this, Dark Jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What of it if two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? They're more than slightly different. What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. And this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor and then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, hmm? The fact that the autopsy said he only got stabbed once. Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why I should take this knife to you? Who are you calling old? Why I should take this needle to you? Police? Police? Two of the jurors are getting stabby. They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? It is out of the question. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you Dark Jinx? Come on, out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof. It looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two victims saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by the autopsy report. Da-dum.
Take that!
We shall show him indeed. This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once. Yeah, only once. It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times. Alright, I concede defeat. The scales of justice have tilted to our side. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won. Well, we haven't... Susato, we haven't won, per se. We've extended our time available. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me. But we had a consensus. I said, shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap ever does dare to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head. Licking knives is a terrible idea, sir. Incredibly unsanitary. Please tell me he's a barber. Ah, yes. Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places. And I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. And I just need a quick break. I will be right back. And I'm back. So, Lord Van Zeeks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. Stop drinking in court. Your hallowed chalice, sir. You appear to have, destroyed it with your grip strength. Having savoured the rich aroma of the calming contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Is your hand okay? Shouldn't someone clear up that mess? You know, tiny shards of glass could go everywhere. It's bad for your eyes. You did that awfully close to your eyes. Lord Van Zeeks. Is it cold in here, or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honoured a deathly silence, and I listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. He threw the cloak off! He threw the cloak off! This guy! Theatricalism at its finest! Bring forth the witnesses once more! Witnesses! I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure. Oh, yes, sir, that I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh, yes, sir, I heard it. You, sir, on the end, the coachman. I believe it's Beppo. Yes, sir, my lord, sir. If it transpires that in your previous testimony you were attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh mio Dio. Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. Witness testimony. Various misgivings. I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it, but, well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. He fiddled us on the fare, he did, and then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It was all too much. I tell you, I saw Mr. McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. Yeah, you didn't see it at all, Beppo. There was absolutely no way you could have seen it from the coachman's chair. Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom 5th passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cozenage. Beppo, explain yourself! I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster. The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging your passengers by a penny a fare? That's by 25%. That's extortion. Extortion. It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. I'm sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo, a disgrace. And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir, I had to pay 10p on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers at 5p each is... yes, 20p. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures. Well, it would appear as that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defence, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlour games. Absolutely. Cross-examination. I like that behind both there is like a stained glass window. That's nice. But,
Hold it!
so there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them a standard 4p fare? Is that right? It's impossible to make the last run of the day pay. I was so cold, all I could do to stop myself passing out. I'm getting chilblains just listening to you. It was terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even keeping the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny per passenger? You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger on the omnibus that night. Then we would have had another suspect. I still think there was a 5th person. Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5p instead of 4? Well, I paid 5p too, sir. And I just told you that I did. A flat fare of 5p across the board. It's not something to be proud of. The so-called discrepancy that my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone, dead and buried. I'd have been happy with if it had ever existed in the first place.
Hold it!
This blood-curdling sight, you mean the murder, I presume? Yes, sir. A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken. Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed. Good gracious, really? We have another witness who did, however, the banker has already testified to it. But Mr. Burst didn't exactly see the point at which the victim was killed. That may turn out to be very significant. I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath, see? That's when I looked through the glass. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating. Are you okay with the fact that juror number 3 has a switchblade? You don't seem to have been screaming.
Hold it!
So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him. That's what I said, isn't it? It was bothering me before, this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only the two of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? There's been much talk of a fifth passenger, but as yet, zero evidence. Then what are we wasting all this time for, eh? It's black and white, the man's guilty. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it was.
Hold it!
Earlier you testified that you saw the moment when the defendants allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh, yes, yes, that's right. You said the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose. I might have, you know, yes, put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard the scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. Then when I turned around, yes, I saw it through the skylight. I still don't see how the driver could see through the skylight from where he was sitting. The gentleman was on the floor and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. That's right, yes, and the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes. Except that he couldn't have been on the floor because there's no blood on the floor, and the picture of his dead body has him sitting on the bench. Therefore, you saw nothing, Beppo. So you didn't see when the victim was actually stabbed at all? I really thought I did, but when I go over it in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I? Oh, hello. Hello, sir. Would you like to tell me something? Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment when the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moments the crime was committed? No chance, or some days are like that. I mean, he could have seen the exact moment, because movement does catch your eye. Which of these should I go for? Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? I kind of want to go with some days are like that. I'm gonna go for it. Well, I suppose some days are like that. Sooner or later you'll see something you wish you hadn't. If you're always peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus. Peeping? I am a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a Ballarat day. It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that, alright. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I forgot the sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man? I think I have... I feel like I should be presenting the gloves to this, but I'm gonna press it first. Blood-soaked? Well, perhaps soaked is laying it on a little thick, but... But anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Ha ha ha! Really? And you saw that from the roof, through the skylight? Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. And there was a lamp on inside the carriage as well, so I'm quite sure of what I saw. This banker's latest statement. I feel sure there's something not quite right about it. When you feel something doesn't add up, Mr. Naruhodo, that's when you should have a good look through the court record. Yes. Not long ago, this trial very nearly came to an end. Somehow we've managed to keep our chances alive here. I can't waste this cross-examination. I have to use it to bring some new facts to light. If you're not careful when you press these witnesses, the danger is that the jury will end up believing something unhelpful as they did before. Maybe, but we can't let the fear of that happening stop us from uncovering important new information. Yes, you're so right. I need to pay I need to pay careful attention here. I don't want to miss even a flicker of a reaction among these witnesses. Remember, if you happen to spot one of the witnesses reacting in a strange way, don't hesitate to pursue them as to the reason. Well, yes, anyway. I would like the last statement. Last statement. Present. Gloves. Present.
Objection!
Blood-soaked hands. Well, I admit that soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but... But anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. Oh, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-coloured stain here. But as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. Ah! Why are you trying to eat your cane? That doesn't seem healthy for your teeth. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. Yeah! But no, that can't be right. So you're the liar here then? Ah! That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said, yeah, it was both hands. Kate is just super hard licorice. Yeah, still. Yeah. See, now he's... Sir, that is not good for your cane or your teeth. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth? Yeah,
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands, it was only one, but the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated he saw blood all over both hands. Which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Why? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate. Kind of sounds like you are, though. He's claiming to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying... You mean like the fact he's in that debt book? It could turn the tide in this trial completely. Something to show that this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. I have evidence. My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony. Ah! Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court is the Debtors Ledger.
Take that!
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused's extortion. The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's hardly worthy of being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? Indeed, the same amount that the victim owed. Ah! Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded was to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? Yeah! Yeah! Order, order, order! Mr. Bruce Fairplay! Yes, my lord? Let me ask you again. And be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Yeah. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. Alright, let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch. A pinch. But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on Mr. McGilded's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And yet only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. Yeah, so you keep saying. I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself, as it happens. Seeing what? The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think... yes, I'm almost sure it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What? Kathump. It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yeah. Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. Witness testimony. What the witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself. No, not until I heard that scream. Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen. Actually, given the images I saw from your point of view, you wouldn't have seen if anyone was on the other bench. Well, lo and behold, in truth of the fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. I apologise, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it. That's really not what testimony is about. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well, your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord. Cross-examination. Brass. No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record. I'm well aware of that, sir, but nevertheless, I know what I saw and I stand by it. The man had blood on both his hands, which implies it's a different man. He's defiant even in the face of hard evidence. He's steadfastly refusing to admit he might be mistaken about what he saw, but why? Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two, the salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused's fingers. Actually, it wasn't the fingers at all. I wish to point this out. Look, that's the palm and the thumb, and maybe a tiny bit of this finger, but it's not the fingers at all. Is there any blood inside the gloves? Okay, I can't see inside the gloves. So actually, Van Deeps. Of course it matters. Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moments of the crime, it's a matter of fundamental importance as well, you know. But for crying out loud, we all know that no one else could possibly have done it. It was just trying to save us all some time. You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty? Well... That's not entirely not what I was hoping for. I mean, either the cane is tasty, or... I don't know. Or he's retraining to be a woodpecker. No, not a woodpecker, a beaver. He's retraining to be a beaver. Instead of a banker. I just lost a little guinea, or 10, when I backed the wrong horse in the derby, that's all. Grr. And that is why you never bet more money on horse racing than you can afford to lose. Also, you clearly did your betting wrong. Now for a fun deviation into things Kalla has done with her life. I've been to the horse racing a couple of times and bet on the horses, and I've always come away with more money than I started with. Not by much, just like small amounts, but I've never lost money on the horses. You just gotta be a little bit careful about where you put in your bets and how much they are. Like, I never put that much money on things. I was going to win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend that's a sure thing. A little guinea or 10? I'm a banker. No one bats an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. From a loan shark, though? I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness. Is that really how it's supposed to work?
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too? Blood on both hands? Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're gonna say. Only one of Mr. McGilden's gloves has any sign of blood being on it. That's right. The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGilden sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing these gloves? That's correct, sir. I saw the blood on both his bare hands quite clearly. It's true that the dark-coloured stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see. Wait. I just had a thought. We haven't looked at that knife yet. Does it have fingerprints on it? I want it to have fingerprints on it. Or I want it not. Yeah. That passes the sheath, isn't it? You alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm sorry, yes, I just don't really like blades. Oh. Those don't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. That's not a blade, that's Kazuma's saw. Anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. Does it have... Ooh, it's got blood on it. You see, this blood looks dried, unlike the stuff on the cabin on the seat. This blood looks like it's actually dried a bit. That's a fancy blade, that is. Look at the design on it. That looks a lot like blood. It surely is blood, the victim's. I kind of feel like there isn't enough blood on it. An Englishman's blood looks a lot like a Japanese man's blood. Did you think it wouldn't? Sorry, it's just that we've only arrived here in Great Britain. And finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. So there's nothing I can look at on the pommel there. Can we look at the M? You know, that could be a W. There's nothing to say it's an M. In fact, with the little twirly bit there, that would be more normal at the end of the letter, right? Maybe? An ornate letter M, undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded its initial. And it's beautifully gilded too. It must be quite valuable, I should think. Ah. What is it? Look at this M. If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything. A W? Yes, this is one of those, you know, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it. That's not the type of turnabout we're talking about here. I'm afraid I don't know at all. But what I'm sure of is that this is an M. Oh. Well, that idea was quickly quashed. Are you sure? It looks like a W to me. I guess. I think it could be either. Okay, I looked at the knife now. Look at him with his scroll. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on Mr. McGilded's gloved hands. There wasn't blood on his hands? This is puzzling indeed. This must be significant somehow, I'm sure of it.
Hold it!
You didn't see anything? Yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir. I didn't. Very, very sorry about what I said before, sir. But very, very sorry, yes. It was wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab the man. Wouldn't you agree, sir? I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories. Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it? No, sir, I saw nothing at all. Mr. Beppo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? Oh, please, you didn't even see that. It was so cold that night, you see. It was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. Yes, my head was fairly frozen solid. So sorry to say, sir. It would seem prudent to avoid travel on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter night. Beppo! Ah!
Hold it!
And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus? That's right, it was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over. Oh yes, I remember I was shivering, it was so bitter. Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh? Why not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one else opened the door. Sorry, no one else. But no one opened the door. It was locked? That's right, and it's a public bus service for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play. Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb onto the but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below. Well, I can assure you I wasn't just looking down, I was glaring, long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else at all in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say. I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? No. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylights on the floor of the upper deck. Is that right? That's right, yes. In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. Well, I wouldn't say it's in the flesh, I'd say it's in the panelled wood, but you know, panelled wood and metal. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that this potential extra passenger could have been situated? Here, below the seats. Specifically below the seat, but yeah. Ta-da!
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other. Look at the fancy men in their top hats and canes. Fancy men. Which means the visible part of the cabin which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight. Ooh, angles. Is as I've drawn here. Ah. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view, and is also a perfectly reasonable position to stab a man like that. By just going forwards. Well, standing up and sort of stab. As opposed to reaching around. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it. Yeah.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In the British court of law, evidence is paramount. Yeah, but you've got no evidence that there wasn't someone there. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude. Can you, Mr. Narrator? A name? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck? Well, I'm gonna have to say I have an inkling, because I gotta try. I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. Well, yes, but you didn't have to call me out on it. This is called living by the seat of your pants, and where did you get another chalice from? A toast to hard lessons not yet learnt. Let us not delay, counsel. The defence is still to name the passenger in the other seat. This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for to turn the trial in my favour. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was... Okay, not Susato, because she wasn't there. I strongly doubt it was the Lord Chief Justice. Magnus McGilded, we've established, was not in that seat. Oh, wait. No! What if Magnus McGilded was in that seat, and therefore yeah, because they saw someone's hands covered in blood. But that can't have been Magnus McGilded, so maybe Magnus was sat in the seat opposite. Because I don't have access to the jury here. I would have considered accusing one of the jury, but they don't have them as options. We know these two were on the roof, and this guy was driving it, and this guy is dead. And this guy probably isn't part of it, so Magnus McGilded was on the opposite seat, and therefore wasn't the person they saw doing the stabbing. Go.
Take that!
The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant. Well, yes. It's the only one that made sense.
Objection!
What did he just do? He did, he just threw his wine glass at the lamp there. Sir, the prosecution is littering and causing damage. Damaging state property, and littering. I wish to object to this. What was the first thing? Yeah, that was just an objection, okay. If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy. Yeah, your hallowed chalice, this is the second one you've broken. Lord Van Deeks. People talk of these tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-advisedly. Also, stop referring to it as tiny when it's so much bigger than Great Britain. What are you trying to say? Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Were they, though? Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It's the very premise on which this case is built.
Objection!
But that premise may be wrong. What? If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claimed that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains. Exactly, that's my point, Van Zieks.
Objection!
The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance. Yes, their testimony remains unchanged. Exactly, they both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit. Extraordinary! Order, order, order! What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. Sorry, the tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though. Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir. And what particular styles of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First? That's a good point, because, Mr. Moneybags over there has a very, very specific hat. I'm afraid I don't remember. And you call yourself a hatter. I call myself a hatter. For a different reason. The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin. How can you be sure? Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would have undoubtedly have offered to depose the fact. Well, he already told us he sleeps. He sleep. Unless that is you're proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed to even notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he travelled. He's right. If there was another person travelling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it. Order! There is clearly a simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused Mr. McGilded to the stand. Well, what say you, counsel? The prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds? As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police. But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely? Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act. Counsel for the defence, what is your opinion? My lord, should we ask Mr. McGilder to testify or not? Yeah, let's get his testimony. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defence would like to call Mr. McGilder to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Yes, I need a little time to consider this. Oh, I don't have that picture from people's views, otherwise I would have been able to go, Because this guy seems suspicious. If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilder has to say. Get the man out here, I say! It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony. When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild. Hearing what the patron of my favourite little park has to say, oh yes, that would be lovely. Yes, the jury says the man must be heard. Very well, the court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once. Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilder, have you been listening to the discourse of the day? See, look, his hat is very specific. You'd expect a hatter to recognise that hat. To be sure I have, my lord. There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin as proposed by the defence. The second is that if such a person were indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police? Begad, no! 'Tis not in my nature to hide anything at all. Just answer the questions, please. The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tells you all, or keep my mouth shut? Tell us what, Mr. McGilder? The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger. It's true? Aye, and 'twas me who helped the little urchin get away with it. Get away after it all happened. Oh? Also, just a second, because I need to put a light on. Alright. And back. You... what? Please, could the defendant stop concealing evidence? Please? No, Magnus McGilder, that convenient excuse can't save you now. I'm truly sorry, so I am, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. Which was... Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and not in any way involved, you see. What? If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. You know, when he said there was someone else there, past my brain went, seriously, is the Swan Hat lady back? Has she got a taste for murder? I kind of want it to be her again. They'd have hauled her here to they'd have hauled her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. And who was this young child of whom you speak? That I don't know. You don't know. Aye, well, the wee thing just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before or since.
Objection!
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witnesses' statements to be disregarded by the court. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. Bang! Ah, smoke! Ah, fire! There's a fire! Look, someone's trying to get away! Cough after them! It's no use! Cough! Can't see anything through this smoke! What's going on? Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Cover your face. Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. Dun dun dun. To be continued! And that, I think, makes for a good stopping point for today. Don't you think? Wow, okay, so someone just shot a smoke bomb to try and get away? What? I look forward to finding out who that is. I still think it's that swan-hatted lady, because she's back in Britain by now, right? It would be kind of funny if it was her. But I guess we'll find out next time. So, if you're new here and you've enjoyed your time, consider subscribing to the channel or follow me on Twitter, which is where I post the week's schedule. Next week's schedule will be up there shortly, and it will go in a pinned post at the top of my Twitter. The next stream, I think, is... yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Utaro no Zan on Monday at 7 PM. But to be sure, please check Twitter within the next few hours. Thank you very much for coming. It's been fun. And this is Kalla signing out. See ya. Bye bye.